Concerned about their safety on the light rail. This after that arrest of a man for stabbing 23-year-old Irena Zuruska. More charges for that suspect. 34-year-old DeCarlo Brown has already faced the first-degree murder charge in state court. Now federal prosecutors have stepped in with an additional case. They say that he was not legally allowed to have that weapon used in an attack on a mass transit system, and so they're charging him with an additional charge. That could mean that he could face the death penalty if convicted.
Community members pushing back at a CMS board meeting over ICE concerns. Families say they are still living in fear and schools should not allow ICE agents on school grounds. Speakers told school board members it would harm students and negatively impact their mental health. They are demanding extra resources to make the students feel safe.
Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles won her Democratic primary for mayor, one of many high-profile contests that will ultimately decide who will be on the ballot in November. Elsewhere on the ballot, most incumbents held onto their seats. However, Charlotte City Council will see some new faces after Tawana Brown and Marjorie Molina lost their bids for re-election. Helene has requested a recount. We're going to have a full breakdown of yesterday's results coming up on WCNC+.
And delays are starting to build on Independence as we have a crash right there at 245A. That's Wendover Road. You may consider taking Monroe inbound. And then this one here, I-85 North at exit 17. It's backed up to exit 14. So those delays are definitely ongoing. Chris.
Plain and simple, a little bit warmer today. We're going to get rid of those clouds, sunshine for the afternoon, and then we warm up through the weekend back to 88 on Monday.
Coming up at 7 on WCNC Plus, almost a year after Hurricane Helene, the struggle for federal aid continues. What's holding it up in western North Carolina? And tomorrow, marking 24 years since 9/11, two Union County deputies share their stories of bravery that day. Join us at 7 on WCNC Plus.
All right, good morning and thanks for joining us on WCNC Plus at 7. I'm Autumn Bracey. Ben Thompson has the day off.
And I'm Lisa Washington. Thanks so much for joining us. A live look now at another clear and cool morning around the Queen City. This is from our tower cam. You can see the city skyline there. We're going to check in with Majestic momentarily to find out more about the morning commute. But first, let's send things over to Chris to find out more about our forecast for this Wednesday.
And honestly, the weather is no problemo. It is a great way to start off the day. We are dealing with a cloudier start than we have over the last couple of mornings, but that didn't really help us from staying warmer this morning. Yesterday, we dropped down to 54. We're at 55 right now in Charlotte. So we were at 55. We warmed up to 57, back to 55. So this is likely our low for the morning, a little bit warmer with some thicker clouds over Monroe. 39 degrees for you in Boone. Feeling it. Ugh. Our bus stop forecast going forward. Well, we are expected to jump back into the lower 60s before you know it over the next couple of hours. And then we'll have the upper 70s to around 80 degrees with sunshine galore. Should be a much sunnier afternoon. After school, though, I want you to focus in on the yellow numbers. This is the first time that we've actually had a slight heat index. This is barely anything, but 80 will feel like 81, just meaning that we do have enough extra moisture in the air today compared to the last few days to, instead of it feeling cooler than the actual air temperature, starting to feel a little bit warmer. Should have plenty of sunshine. I'm talking about wall-to-wall sunshine status by the time the kids are home or whatever you're doing by the late afternoon heading into the evening. Still great for an evening walk. It's not overbearing mugginess whatsoever. Our surface map showing that we just got this stall guy. That's a quasi-stationary front, kind of does one of these little shimmy offshore, and that's going to allow for some rain, especially east of Florida and Jacksonville. And that low pressure system, even though it's not technically tagged by the National Hurricane Center, could potentially, as it works its way off towards the northeast, turn into our next tropical system. That is one wave that's being watched. This one, not so much, but we're getting close to the peak of hurricane season. It's something we really ought to watch. Any low that's out in the Atlantic, the Gulf, or further off in the Caribbean. Our water vapor loop also showing that we have a lot of dry air. So even though we have the return of moisture slightly, we have no chances of any rain, even if a system rolled on in. And we will see a front cloud things up a little bit more heading into the weekend, but no rain chances until next Tuesday into Wednesday. Like, I'm talking about maybe even just a spotty chance for rain on Wednesday. Not much really going on there. And our temperatures are going to range all over the place. Our lows are going to start to come up. Instead of the mid 50s, we're back to the upper 50s to around 60, and then the lower to even the mid 60s heading into early next week. And my stat of the day, through 10 mornings, 10 lows, because we officially pretty much have clocked ours for the day. This is now the 7th coldest start to September in Charlotte history, and that's dating back to 147 years of record keeping. So it really just shows how abnormally cool it has been. As far as our highs, they've technically been below normal as well. 80 degrees today, and then after that, on the way up to about 88 degrees on Monday, mid to the upper 80s taking over next week. So we're flipping the switch, bloop, back over to summer before you know it. Today's really the last fall-like feeling day, or at least feeling more like late September. Weather, not a problem. Traffic, is it a problem? Majestic's about to tell us right now.
All right, good morning, everyone. Well, you know, we definitely have some area roadway problems. Multiple accidents out there this morning. We're going to start with this live camera shot. You can see more people are out on those roads right now. It is 7:03, so a busy time to the day. As people are heading off to work, we're getting those kids to class this morning. So, yes, keep this in mind. You can see my map. We have our typical delays, but we also have a handful of wrecks. Want to let you know about this one here. It's on Independence. It's on Independence at exit 245A. That's Wendover Road. That's going to be those inbound lanes, slowing people down at least a good 10 minutes. So if you want to avoid that, take Monroe inbound. In addition to that, out towards Gaston County, we have a problem right here. It's on I-85, northbound lanes again. There's a crash at exit 17. It's backed up to exit 14. Now we're going to jump over to this one. This one here, I also am seeing lots of reds and lots of oranges. A lane is blocked because of a crash. It's on I-77 northbound at exit 1A. That's Westinghouse Boulevard. Slowing your morning commute down, so plan accordingly. Allow for a little extra drive time. We're already starting to see those delays in Mecklenburg County up and down I-77, mainly those inbound lanes as people are heading a little closer to town. I-77 from Mooresville to Cornelius looks all right, but once you get towards Huntersville, especially as you're heading closer to Charlotte, that's where traffic is going to be a bit slow. Those are the main things I'm watching for now. We'll have another check on those roads coming up next time you see me back here in just a few minutes.
All right, Majestic, that sounds good. 7:05 now. This morning, a new charge against the man accused in the deadly stabbing on a Charlotte light rail train.
DeCarlos Brown is already facing state-level first-degree murder charges, and now multiple agencies coming together to say they're also going to add a federal charge. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane is live explaining how local and federal leaders are standing shoulder to shoulder in this case. Richard.
Yeah, good morning to you, Autumn. Good morning, Lisa. Good Wednesday morning, everyone watching us here on the Plus. Basically, those charges now mean that Brown, the defendant, could face up to life in prison, or he could possibly be put to death. All of this as many residents say they're concerned about their safety when they want to ride Charlotte's transit system. Now the feds also weighing in on this horrific crime. 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown was already facing a first-degree murder charge in state court. Now federal prosecutors have stepped in with an additional case. He's accused of using a knife to kill 23-year-old Helene Zagruska at the South End Light Rail Station just last month. That stabbing sent shockwaves through Charlotte and now the nation. It's raised new concerns about safety for riders who depend on the Blue Line here every day. City leaders have called for stronger security measures, while CMPD has increased its patrols around transit stops. Federal investigators say Brown was not legally allowed to have that weapon used in the attack. Now that's led to the federal weapons charge, as U.S. Attorney Russ Ferguson of the Western District of North Carolina emotionally explained yesterday.
This is obviously a horrible, horrible situation. But this is why federal statutes exist. They exist to take care of situations like this because no one should sit in fear when they sit on the light rail. If you sit in fear on the light rail, you sit in fear when you walk around the streets of our center city like I do every day. You sit in fear when you go to our parks like I do with my daughter every weekend. You sit in fear at our sporting events, our entertainment venues, at concerts, at restaurants, at our museums. These are all the things that we have worked as a city so hard to build. We built this city. Companies have come here in droves. More than 150 people move here every day. We built a city that people want to live in, but we can lose that all if we allow violent crime like this to go on in our streets.
Again, feds say that the investigation is ongoing in this crime. Brown could be charged with more. For its part, the Zaruska's family was asked by the U.S. State Department if they wanted her remains sent back to the Ukraine. Her family said no, she loved America and she can be buried here. Of course, we'll continue to follow this story with every twist and turn that comes up. But for now, we're right here in the South End. This is Richard Devane. We'll send it back to you.
And of course, now a bigger spotlight on this, Richard. I know you're not especially close to one of the platforms there. So do you see people heading out to take the light rail this morning?
Yeah, we're not standing at a platform. We can see one down that way and one that way. But I've been doing unofficial, just taking a look throughout the morning. Those trains are empty, but normally at this time they start to pick up. So now we'll start to see as that morning commute really gets underway. We'll take a closer look and let you know what it looks like in the next hour. But so far from what I've seen this morning, the few trains I've seen, so far they're pretty empty.
All right, Richard Devane live for us this morning. Thanks, Richard.
And this morning, the North Carolina State Auditor moving forward with its own investigation into cats. The investigation is going to focus on the agency's public safety measures. That includes a look at private security contracts, metrics, and data used by the city's transit system, as well as the security and safety budget.
Well, this morning, a number of elected officials celebrating primary wins in Decision 2025, including Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyle. She's on her way to another November election. The mayor won the Democratic primary for mayor yesterday, getting more than 70% of the vote. Now, here is a look at the Charlotte City Council at-large race with 166 out of 169 precincts reporting. All 4 incumbent at-large members are moving to the general election. Dimple Ajmera, Lawana Slack Mayfield, James Mitchell Jr., and Victoria Watlington will move on to November, where they will face Edwin Peacock. Only 4 candidates will be elected in all. Coming up at 7:30, our Destiny Richards is going to have a live report on those results from yesterday's primary.
Coming up, peace talks on the war in Gaza now in limbo. How the White House is responding to the latest attacks.
Now to some news making headlines across the country. A federal court has ruled that embattled Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook can remain in her position for now. This as she fights President Trump's efforts to fire her. The president said he was firing Cook last month over mortgage fraud allegations. Tuesday's decision is likely to be appealed.
Right now, the U.S. Supreme Court is moving fast to consider whether President Trump's tariffs are legal. Justices set a hearing for the first week in November, an unusually quick turnaround for the High Court. They're going to hear arguments over whether Trump has the power to impose tariffs without congressional approval under a law reserved for times of emergency. The tariffs will remain in effect until justices issue a decision. And this morning, ceasefire talks between Hamas and Israel now in limbo after Israel's massive strike on Qatar. Now family members of the hostages fear for their loved ones will never be released.
This as President Trump defends his administration's knowledge of the attack. NBC's Alice Barr has the details.
President Trump overnight voicing frustration with another escalation in the Middle East, an Israeli attack targeting Hamas leadership inside Qatar, that Qatar called cowardly and illegal.
I was very unhappy about it, very unhappy about every aspect, and we got to get the hostages back. But I was very unhappy about the way that went down.
The president saying Israel did not warn him in advance. On social media, the president writing, quote, unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. Hamas leaders were in Qatar because the U.S. asked for a neutral site for Gaza peace negotiations that Qatar has been mediating for months. Those talks now in limbo, devastating Israeli hostage families. One mother saying she's trembling with fear for her son, still captive in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu authorized the strike after a shooting at a bus stop in Jerusalem Monday that killed 6 Israelis.
These are the same terrorists who planned, terrorist chiefs who planned, launched, and celebrated the horrific massacres of October 7th.
Israeli forces are once again stepping up military operations in Gaza, forcing beleaguered Gaza City residents to evacuate as President Trump and other world leaders push for a path to peace. The U.S. is pushing a new ceasefire proposal that Israel agreed to and Hamas was reviewing, though voicing skepticism about the terms. The White House says President Trump has now spoken to Israel's prime minister and assured Qatar's top leaders a similar strike will not happen again, as we wait to see the fate of negotiations. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Majestic has a check on your morning commute in just 2 minutes. The time is now 7:17. You're streaming live on WCNC Plus. This morning, almost a year after Hurricane Helene devastated western North Carolina, leaders say the need for aid is just as great.
But they say the federal government continues to make things difficult. Kimberly King explains the struggle for aid in Asheville.
Governor Stein asked the federal government for more Western Carolina help in the form of $11.5 billion in additional aid. In response, this statement from the White House saying Stein's request shows he's unfit to run the state, stating President Trump's transformational recovery involves one of the longest 100% cost share periods in FEMA history and the continued 90% federal share for debris removal and emergency protective measures.
That's not the issue.
Asheville Mayor Manheimer says this.
Under this administration, there is a requirement that Secretary Kristi Noem approve all spending over $100,000.
Manheimer says that requirement is creating a huge logjam.
So if you're a city or a county or the state of North Carolina and you're doing repairs that are on the scale of millions of dollars, having to have every single check approved by Secretary Noem herself that's over $100,000 is creating this bottleneck.
I think it's important to keep in mind that this 100% cost share began under the previous administration, Joe Biden's administration, before Trump came into office.
Reporter Lucas Tamai with Carolina Public Press, a nonprofit, is talking about the Trump statement touting the 100% federal coverage. As for Trump calling Stein unfit to run the state,
it's hard to see it as anything but a political battle.
We have outstanding right now a check for almost $11 million sitting on Kristi Noem's desk that needs to be signed to pay for water filtration, emergency water filtration system that is at the North Fork Reservoir.
I emailed the White House asking for a response to Mayor Manheimer's statement. The communications liaison sent the same statement it sent yesterday, responding to Governor Stein, saying President Trump's recovery effort has been transformational. Tonight, Congressman Chuck Edwards responding, "This isn't a political issue to me. I'm working working closely with both President Trump and Governor Stein to ensure Western North Carolinians get the help we need. I'll be meeting with Governor Stein again soon to discuss areas of priority within his request and ways we can accomplish them.
Our coverage of Hurricane Helene continues nearly 1 year after the storm.
We're going to be bringing you special stories all of September leading up to a week of in-depth reporting at the end of the month.
Chris?
All right, let's get right to it. So I'm going to talk about our near term, our forecast, 7-day, and we're going to go right into the tropics because today is a special date in the Atlantic hurricane season. So this morning's low is 55. That's where we're at right now. The average is 65, so below normal lows. We continue that trend. 84 officially today, September 10th. It dropped down to 84 around Charlotte. Today's high is going to be right around 80. So as you can see here for where we're going, we'll have more clouds in the morning and then should have a sunny to a mostly sunny afternoon. Even though we have a high of 80 degrees, we're in the 70s, people. We have the mid to the upper 70s for the afternoon and a mostly clear sky overnight tonight. Getting right to our 7-day forecast, there are no rain chances. I don't have any futurecasts show you. I'm not going to waste your time. And then we have lower to the mid 80s really going forward. Today's technically the coolest day, and we can expect some milder lows as well. But look at the top, 88 degrees come Monday. And see this little icon? This is going to be the last little homestand that we have for our Charlotte nights, Tuesday through Sunday. So if you haven't gone to a game and you wanted to, just carpe diem, my friends. It's coming up before you know it. All right, now let's talk about the tropics. From August 1st to November 30th, 87% of all tropical cyclones form for our Atlantic hurricane season. But one day stands out from all the rest. That is September 10th. That literally this little top right here through years of record keeping going back even past 1950. Technically it goes to the late 1800s, but we started our naming system around 1951. But through all that data, September 10th is usually the exact peak of tropical activity. However, that is not the case this year, and nor was it the case last year. Tropical cyclone activity not expected over the next 7 days. That's not my verbiage. That's what the National Hurricane Center is actually saying right now. However, there's no active, hey, 20% chance for development right now. But there are several waves. Like this one right here, it's encountering too much dry air, so that's not going to happen. This little wave that's right off of the Carolinas and Florida coast, nothing's going to happen in the near term, but we have several of these waves that if they get the right conditions, they could develop into something. So number one, the dust layer. The hurricanes or tropical storms don't like this because they want a lot of moisture. The more moisture, the better. But since this big plume of dust has been active, which is actually a little bit more of a July-like pattern, that's really inhibited a lot of development. So that's number one. Number two, wind shear. We've seen a lot of these reds, but now we're going to start to head into an environment that there's a lot more of these greens, especially in this sweet spot east of the Lesser Antilles. Whenever that's a big check mark or a big green, that's going to intensify some of our tropical development. That's also the main reason why we don't really have anything close to the United States. So if all those start to stack up, more moisture, and you have a better wind shear environment, we're going to see us quickly check off the boxes of the name list. Next is Gabrielle, Umberto, Imelda, and Jerry, where I names, more than any other letter in the hurricane alphabet, are retired by far. So I'm looking at Imelda, but really anything can happen over the coming days, especially about day 8 to 14 of the extended forecast. We'll, of course, be here with you here on WCNC Plus, just where we are each and every morning. But let's get over to Majestic. Beautiful weather start. How are we starting traffic-wise?
You know, it's really not too bad as you're heading out the door for your morning commute. We have just fine conditions, not perfect, but we have definitely seen worse before. Traffic is starting to pick up now that we are at 723. You can see this is I-85 there, 55 degrees, so you might want to grab a light layer before you head out the door. Couple of accidents, new ones coming in. This one here, the turning lane is blocked because of a crash. It's on Albemarle Road, westbound near Harrisburg Road. You can see the orange starting to pop up. That's just really starting to mean that we are seeing those delays. Then off to the west, you can see we still have this ongoing problem. This crash here at Queens Road and Providence Road, Providence and those inbound lanes. Again, going to be slow moving this morning from uptown up to I-77. Nothing that we're not used to. Seeing some slower moving traffic from Cornelius to Huntersville as you're heading a little closer to the Charlotte metro area. But again, nothing that we're not really used to this time of the day. Here's some of our drive times as you're waking up. up. Maybe you're heading off to work, getting those kids off to class this morning. From Matthews, it's going to take you about 24 minutes. From Belmont, just under 30, and out towards Salisbury, just under 60 minutes. So make sure you are mindful of that. No significant crashes this morning, but definitely a handful of smaller ones. We'll have another check on traffic coming up in just a few minutes, but for now, we're going to take a quick break.
Yesterday we had our coolest morning of the season. Well, today is rivaling that. 55 degrees for our low so far. Likely that's going to be the final number. As the sun has now risen up in our sky, it's going to allow for a quick little warm up. 76 yesterday, 80 degrees for today. And our afternoon forecast sitting pretty. We're just talking about a nice mix of cloud and sunshine to start off the day, but then sunshine galore, that wall-to-wall sunshine status expected for your Wednesday afternoon. Staying dry, and that's going to be really the name of the game. No rain chances anytime soon. So tonight, over the next few days, we're going to see temperatures jump back into the lower to the mid 80s. A pretty good looking forecast overall, and the extended forecast is an even bigger warm up by the end of the weekend. 85 on Sunday, and we're calling for the upper 80s near 90 on Monday. Majestic, take it away.
All right, out the door we go. This is I-85 here at Sugar Creek. Good morning to everyone who's waking up, getting ready to head out the door. It's a beautiful start to the day, and you can see traffic is starting to increase at 727 right now. We do still have some active accidents out there. This crash is slowing people down quite a bit. The turning lane right now, it is blocked because of this crash. It's on Albemarle Road, westbound near Harrisburg Road. You can see the orange there indicating medium impacts. One lane is also blocked because of this crash. It's on W.T. Harris Boulevard, eastbound near Graywood Drive. Have a great day.
streaming live on WCNC Plus at 7:30. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Autumn Bracey in for Ben Thompson. Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles celebrating another win in her Democratic primary for mayor, one of many high-profile contests that will ultimately decide who will be on the ballot in November.
WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards joins us live this morning to break down this and some of those key council races. Destiny.
Yeah, those unofficial results are in, and while most incumbents were able to hold on to their seats, Charlotte City Council will likely see some new faces as Tijuana Brown and Marjorie Molina both lost their bids for re-election. Now we'll start with those results for the race for mayor. Incumbent Vi Lyles secured about 70% of the vote, defeating 4 Democratic challengers and positioning herself for a potential 5th term. This comes after days of heightened scrutiny and national criticism of her response to the Blue Line murder of Irina Zarutska. Lyles will face 2 opponents in November, Republican Terry Donovan and Libertarian Rob Yates. In the District 3 race, Joy Mayo came out on top with nearly 50% of the vote, unseating incumbent Tijuana Brown. Brown is facing federal charges tied to COVID relief loans, which cost her major endorsements from the Fraternal Order of Police and the Black Political Caucus, both of which backed Mayo. Mayo will now face Republican James Bowers in November. And most races on the ballot were Democratic, but District 6 featured the lone Republican primary. Krista Bakari won with 76% of the vote over Sari Chakra and now advances to November, where she'll face Democrat Kimberly Owens. Now, again, this is an unofficial, these are unofficial results. So election officials still have to canvass the results over the next couple of days. And of course, we'll have all of the latest updates for you, all the primary results in this story on the WCNC Charlotte News app. I'll send back to you ladies live here from Midtown.
All right, Destiny, thanks for the update. But before you go, tell us a little bit about voter turnout. Was it what election officials thought it would be?
Yeah, so we've been hearing that, local races, it's typically low turnout, and that was definitely the case this time. We're seeing 7.97% turnout from this primary. And when we talked to Michael Dickerson with the Mecklenburg County Board of Elections during early voting, he said historically in the past couple of local primary races, we have seen between 6 and 8%, and we've got nearly 8% here. And the official ballot totals are 42,442 out of 532,197. And keep in mind that that is, out of all of the registered voters in Mecklenburg County. But considering Charlotte is the biggest city in Mecklenburg County, you would at least, expect to be over that 10% point, exceed it even. So not everyone who is eligible to vote had their say in this election, but it goes to show how important these local elections are because people were unseated and there were some changes.
For sure, and all politics is local. I went to my precinct about 1:15 yesterday afternoon. I was the 22nd person to vote.
Oh,
so
wow.
Definitely a low turnout. All right, Destiny, thanks so much for that live report. New this morning, incumbent Charlotte City Council member Marjorie Molina is calling for a recount in the District 5 race. Now, she was up against J.D. Mazura Arias, who won by just 37 votes. She posted this morning on social media saying that she will be requesting a recount to ensure every single vote is honored, adding that she is committed to a fair process and thanking voters for standing with her every step of the way. All right, let's check back in with Chris now to find out more about our forecast. And this really, I don't want to say light work for you, Chris, but not a lot going on.
I'm going on break. Seriously, that's the way it does feel. And no, it is, because we don't have a lot to talk about, which is great news for you. Now, our temperatures are a little bit below normal, but it feels great. It looks great. I still have information to tell you. But when you have no rain chances and there's no big anomalies, it's kind of business as usual. And eventually we're going to get back to the normal high of 84. But today is starting a little bit on the cooler side, just like yesterday. Only difference is about a degree. At this point yesterday, it was 38 degrees in Boone. It's 39 now. It was 54 around Charlotte. It's 55 now. And then Monroe, you are actually a little bit warmer than you were at this point yesterday. And then 60 degrees around Albemarle. It's because of that cloud cover that is keeping some areas a little bit warmer, but we still have some fall-like weather today. But it is starting to trend a little bit more summer-like. You're definitely going to be feeling it more by tomorrow. And over the next few hours, you can expect temperatures to jump out of the 50s into the 60s, the lower 70s by the conclusion of the morning. And by the time you might be eating a sandwich around lunchtime, that's what I'm going to be doing. Can't wait. You have the mid to the upper 70s and then 80 degrees. Yep, nope, that's the one that we're going to hit today. We've been in the mid to the upper 70s the last few mornings, or few afternoons, excuse me. And then our highs today, 80 degrees as I mentioned, 82 in Lancaster, and then 79 right around Hickory. Whole lot of nothing. Now, the changes compared to yesterday. Yesterday, we had actually less cloud cover in the morning. It's a little bit cloudier start, and I think we'll have another beautiful sunny afternoon. Yesterday was also pretty breezy. The last couple of days have been with some gusts up to 20 and 25 miles per hour. I still think you'd have a stray gust up to 20, but it should be a fairly lighter wind, less gusty than what we had yesterday, and especially by the latter part of the day. But I think that through this morning, you are going to still have some gusts up to about 15 miles per hour, just not up to that 25 mile per hour range, which is getting close to windy status. And those winds out of the north, still a cooler direction, but eventually going to shift that out of the south, and that's going to make it feel a little more humid, and it's also going to turn up Mother Nature's thermostat. So our futurecast, not a lot to show you except for more clouds further off towards the east. This is 4 p.m. today. You are still going to have a chance for some passing clouds or two. Most of us going to be under that nice sunny sky. And then heading into the overnight, we see green here on our futurecast. That is representing rain. Anything that I think works into our eastern zones, I think it's going to come to fruition. If you see any green that pops up in here, it's at maximum a sprinkle. But you notice nothing gets here to the Charlotte area over the next 24 to 48 hours. By tomorrow morning, we're right around 60 degrees, more of the 40s compared to the 30s up in the high country. And then I think all in all, your Thursday is looking to be pretty bright. Just a chance for a sprinkle further off towards the east. Perfectly dry around Charlotte with high temperatures in the lower 80s. And then beyond that, you can see those temperatures not really moving too much to the lower 60s heading into your Friday morning. For that 7-day forecast, here it is. This is the easiest forecast I could potentially give you. We have the lower to the mid 80s through the weekend. No rain chances. A front will move in, giving us some more clouds on Saturday, but all in all, not too bad. Seeing an uptick in that moisture content, still not too terrible, not overly muggy. The warmest day, though, possible lower 90s for some areas south and southeast of Charlotte, back into the upper 80s on Monday, before we still hold on to the mid to the upper 80s through the middle of next week. Let's get on to Majestic. How's traffic looking?
Good morning, everyone. Well, we definitely have some accidents that are ongoing we need to talk about. We'll start with some of our live cameras, though. This is coming in from York County. Of course, I-77. Traffic is flowing. All right, it is definitely moving now that it is 7:38. This is I-85. Much of the same. Nice mix of sun and clouds. Mid-50s, though. So you may want to grab at least a light sweatshirt. We do have this accident. This is a newer one. The left turning lane is right now blocked because of a crash. It's on Albemarle Road, westbound near Harrisburg Road. You can see the colors here. That orange is indicating that traffic is currently moving quite slowly. One additional lane is blocked because of a different crash, this time on W.T. Harris Boulevard, eastbound near Graywood Drive. Also seeing those impacts there. They're actually getting worse. Off to the west we go. A crash on Queens Road at Providence Road. Keep this one in mind. You might want to allow for a couple of extra minutes as Providence is already a very well-trafficked place. And look at I-77, up and down I-77 at this point. We have our typical delays, but no accidents at this point. Those delays stretch all the way from Forest Lake into the Pineville area, 485 out towards Matthews and Stallings. Keep this in mind. The inner loop of 485 is red, stop and go. No accidents, just a lot of people heading out the door and all driving in the same direction. Lisa.
All right, Majestic, thanks. Well, speaking of driving, a heads up for drivers in Mooresville. A construction project there could cause some big delays over the next several months. Crews are shutting down a portion of the intersection of Highway 21 and West Wilson Boulevard. Now, this is part of the work to widen part of Brawley School Road. That work is expected to last at least 6 months. Businesses in the area are worried about the hit to their bottom line.
My office is shaking, and it's way in the back of here.
We're going to be closing approximately 1 block of West Wilson Avenue from US 21 to the Country Club Apartments entrance. We're going to be widening the road, installing a multi-use path, and improving traffic flow at the intersection.
Take a look at your screen. This is a map of the detour to get around that. It includes West Wilson Avenue, South Main Street, West McClellan Avenue, North Carolina 150, and Highway 21. The closure is expected to start on Monday. The entire widening project is expected to be completed in early 2029.
Well, coming up, CMS families pushing back against immigration enforcement in schools. Well, this morning, major concerns over immigration enforcement in CMS, community members pushing back at last night's CMS board meeting. Families say they are still living in fear and schools should not allow ICE agents on school grounds. WCNC Charlotte Siobhan Riley explains.
I'm here to demand that CMS ends all collaboration with ICE.
During a packed school board meeting, members of the community calling on district leaders to change how it works with ICE in schools.
CMS needs to immediately implement mandatory trauma-informed care training for all teachers and staff. Students need clear, accessible resources and information about immigration and their rights, and you need to stop blocking those resources from getting to them.
How are students supposed to thrive and learn when they feel scared when they step into school?
School board members spent the meeting highlighting the district's successes after CMS outperformed the state in overall grade level proficiency. But community members say not enough attention is being paid on how the district is addressing safety concerns.
How sad it is that for the last couple hours, we praised the accomplishments of this school district, while the very same school district betrays its students and abandons them by allowing cooperation with ICE.
Board members have said previously the district's policies stem from federal and state requirements rather than local decisions. In the past, they have reassured the community proper safeguards remain in place. During the meeting, CMS leaders touted some academic gains as well, with nearly 90% of schools meeting growth goals, ranking CMS 10th in the state. The board also approved new policy changes. One of them allows parents to now opt their child out of some lessons and review library books online.
7:44 now. Time for us to connect the dots. That's when we make the news make sense. A new federal panel is questioning the hepatitis B shot that's given at birth, something doctors say has saved lives for decades. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his revamped vaccine advisory panel are now questioning the long-held practice of giving newborns a hepatitis B shot before leaving the hospital. Let's connect the dots. Since 1991, it's been standard in the U.S. to vaccinate infants at birth to guard against hepatitis B, a virus that can cause liver cancer and failure later in life. This universal approach has been extremely successful in virtually eliminating hepatitis B in children. Public health authorities strongly oppose the reconsideration. They argue the birth dose is vital, especially when maternal infection status can be missed or delayed. Experts say this shift signals political interference in science-backed immunization policies. Some CDC leaders have resigned, citing concerns that vaccine science and safety are being sidelined. The hepatitis B birth dose has been a cornerstone in preventing serious liver disease. Removing or delaying it could risk losing decades of progress and raise questions about the future of evidence-based vaccination. And that's connecting the dots. Ahead on WCNC Plus, 2 Union County officers share their memories of helping save lives during the 9/11 attacks.
Well, good morning, everybody. Let's talk about dew points, right? All right, so our dew points are on the drier and have been on the drier side. Anything that's at 50 or below feels great. And yesterday that we started to see a slight change, getting deeper into the 50s, and then starting off this morning, it still was around the lower to the mid 50s. But we're about to see a change, especially later today. We're going to get close to that 60-degree point where it's going to start to feel a little bit stickier otherwise than where it has been. So just note that there is going to be that subtle change as we work our way through the next few days. And then we also going to have a few of those spikes getting in the lower 60s. I think that we have that on Friday and then again on Monday as we're really going to be turning up Mother Nature's thermostat. So I just want everyone to be on guard that it will start to feel a little bit more humid. Nothing that's overly bearing or anything like that. 55 degrees right now around Charlotte. We have more clouds. That eventually erodes to plenty of sunshine coming our way. And then we can expect really, I think, a clear to a mostly clear end of the day. And even though we have a high of 80 80 degrees. Realistically, we're in the upper 70s for most of the afternoon. As for our 7-day forecast, there's really not a lot to mention here, except that we are trending towards more of a summer-like pattern. What happens today, 80 degrees. This is the really day of transition. We still have a cooler wind direction out of the north, but then eventually it's going to do a 180 and come out of the south and the southwest. That's the lower to the mid 80s through the weekend. I think we have another front that's going to start to cloud things up a little bit more for your Saturday, not affecting your Charlotte FC match if you're going to that. But then here we go. Mid to the upper 80s. That's right, close to 90 degrees on Monday. Now, typically in Charlotte climatology, we have our last 90-degree day on September 12th. Well, it's been a while since we've even seen one. We had a little stretch of the 90s to end August, and then we had another one that popped up, or really close to here in September. It was actually back-to-back 89-degree days, but we are definitely trending towards a warmer direction overall. I think for our long-range pattern, if you look at our 10-day forecast, all the way up to 88, that looks to be the top over the next 10 days or next week and a half, but we're still rocking the mid to the upper 80s. Today, our official high, or our average high, went down to 84 degrees, so technically, starting by Sunday, we have almost a week or above average temperatures, so completely flipping the script. Hopefully, it's the usual script for your morning commute, but let's check with Majestic. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Well, let's start with some of those drive times. It's going to take you over an hour if you are coming in from Salisbury to Charlotte. 30 minutes from Belmont to Charlotte, Gastonia. It is starting to pick up as well, about 50. So make sure you're ready for that. Planning accordingly. We have a handful of ongoing wrecks right now. I want to let you know about this one specifically because the turning lane is right now blocked because of a crash. It's on Albemarle Road, westbound near Harrisburg Road. And then to the south of it, another lane is blocked because of a crash on W.T. Harris Boulevard, eastbound near Graywood Drive. Off to the west, also following this active crash, this one here is on Queens Road and Providence Road. You know how Providence can get pretty backed up, so not helpful when we have that ongoing crash. Zooming it out, look at I-77 up and down. We have our typical delays, lots of red, meaning stop and go traffic. We'll have more on that coming up in just a few minutes, but for now, Autumn, I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Majestic. Well, tomorrow marks 24 years since the attacks on the World Trade Center, and Union County is honoring two deputies who helped out on that tragic day. Tom Luisa and Chris Castrogiovanni are two Union County Sheriff officers who were in New York during the attack. I spoke with them about risking their lives to help save others on that day. It's been nearly 24 years since the attacks on the World Trade Center rocked our nation to its core. And nearly a quarter of a century later, the officers who answered the call says these memories will never be forgotten.
I remember seeing the North Tower and this large hole inside the North Tower and smoke just coming out of it and people just running and running.
When you see it in real time, it looked like something that you saw in like the 1940s or the bombings of London and France and things of that. You couldn't absorb it all in at the same time, all at once.
Nearly 24 years ago, Chris Castrogiovanni and Tom Luisa, who now serve with the Union County Sheriff's Office, were strangers in New York City. Both rushed in to help civilians and fellow first responders during one of the deadliest attacks on American soil.
It was this big cloud of dust like a big sandstorm. And after it managed to subside a little bit, we were just evacuating people, I remember trying to get those kids out of Stuyvesant High School.
Luisa was a part of a federal drug task force at the time, visiting the area for training. Castrogiovanni, who grew up in Manhattan, was serving on the NYPD detective squad. He was on the search and rescue team at Ground Zero for several weeks. It's an experience he says he'll never forget, especially digging while debris hung over his head.
Then I was assigned to the morgue, which was something in all of itself, where you see firemen that actually basically cooked inside their fire retardant gear, and you're assigned to them to go get x-rays and dental and stuff in order to identify them.
Castrogiovanni tells me he lost 3 of his closest friends who were first responders at the time. He calls them the true heroes.
It's Joe Vidge, Timmy Roy, and Chris Pickford. Chris Pickford was a fireman, Timmy Roy was my old sergeant, and Joe Vigiano, his brother, also died in 9/11.
Both Luisa and Castrogiovanni say they are changed forever.
Well, I'm hoping we never forget, because at times it seems like we've forgotten this country. I'm hoping we never forget.
I've lost a lot of friends, post 9/11, I've had cancer myself. I have lung problems. I have ENT problems. I have Barrett's disease. So you take every day as a gift.
Union County Sheriff Eddie Cathy spearheaded this effort to honor his deputies to ensure their work will always be preserved. In Union County, Autumn Bracey, WCNC Charlotte.
It is so important that we do not forget the events that happened on 9/11. It's great to hear their stories, and of course that they are keeping the memory of those who were lost that day alive.
Yes, I'm so thankful they sat down with me. It was, it's been 24 years tomorrow, and just to see it still so fresh in their mind.
For sure.
But thank you for their continued service as well.
Absolutely. Well, we are going to take a quick break, but you keep it right here on WCNC Plus. In a couple of minutes, we're going to have another update on weather and traffic. If you're heading out this morning, Majestic will let you know the problem spots, and we'll be back with the day's top headlines at the top of the hour.
Well, good morning, everybody who is ready for another sensational day. 59 degrees, nice warm up from our 55, and we'll continue to break down these clouds off in the distance. It will turn out to be a nice sunny afternoon, but as you can see off yonder, still dealing with a partly sunny sky to begin the day. 80 degrees, that's our top, but we're mainly going to be in the mid to the upper 70s for the afternoon. Wind should be a little bit lighter than what we had yesterday, but still an occasional gust, getting up to about 20 miles per hour through the morning, heading into the early afternoon. Our muggy meter is also trending up as well, especially overnight heading into tomorrow. So we will start to feel a little bit stickier by the end of the day, and certainly by tomorrow. I think Friday and Monday right now trending to be the most humid days of the week, and then the lower to the mid 80s heading through the weekend. 88's the top, near 90 degrees on Monday, for leveling out in the mid 80s the middle of next week. Let's get over to my friend Majestic, see how our traffic's looking.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to South Carolina. Here's some live camera looks coming in. This is I-77, York County. It's a nice start to the morning. Traffic is definitely starting to build. This is I-85. Nice mix of sun and clouds, but nice dry area roadways. Drive times are starting to pile up. It's going to take you 67 minutes to get into Charlotte from Salisbury, and you can see we do have a handful of accidents this morning. This one here is backing people up about 5 to 10 minutes. The turning lane is blocked because of a crash. It's on Albemarle Road near Harrisburg Road.
thanks for joining us live on WCNC Plus at 8. I'm Autumn Bracey in for Ben Thompson.
And I'm Lisa Washington. This morning, a new charge against the man accused in the deadly stabbing on Charlotte's light rail train. DeCarlos Brown is already facing state-level first-degree murder charges, and now multiple agencies are coming together to say they are also going to add a federal charge.
WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane is live explaining how local and federal leaders are unified in their effort to bring justice. Richard?
Yeah, good morning to you, Autumn. Good morning, Lisa. Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Those federal charges, that federal charge now means that if convicted, Brown would spend the rest of his life behind bars or possibly even face death. Now, this is many residents in Charlotte say they're concerned about their safety on Charlotte's transit system. 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown was already facing a first-degree murder charge in state court. Now, federal prosecutors have stepped in with an additional case. Brown is accused of using a knife to kill 23-year-old Helene at the South End Light Rail Station last month. Now, that stabbing sent shockwaves through Charlotte, raising new concerns about safety for riders who depend on the Blue Line. City leaders, for their part, have called for stronger security measures, while CMPD has also increased patrols around transit stops. CATS, for its part, has placed more security officers on trains. Federal investigators say that Brown was not legally allowed to have the weapon used in that attack, which led to the federal weapons charge. We heard from U.S. Attorney of the Western District, Russ Ferguson, yesterday, who emotionally explained why these charges were placed.
This is obviously a horrible, horrible situation. But this is why federal statutes exist. They exist to take care of situations like this because no one should sit in fear when they sit on the light rail. If you sit in fear on the light rail, you sit in fear when you walk around the streets of our center city like I do every day. You sit in fear when you go to our parks like I do with my daughter every weekend. You sit in fear at our sporting events, our entertainment venues, at concerts, at restaurants, at our museums. These are all the things that we have worked as a city so hard to build. We built this city. Companies have come here in droves. More than 150 people move here every day. We built a city that people want to live in, but we can lose that all if we allow violent crime like this to go on in our streets.
And to that end, the investigation will continue. According to the Department of Justice, they say more charges could be levied against Brown. Again, if he's convicted, he could face life in prison. Also, he could face the death penalty. Of course, when we get more information on that, we'll let you know. Another note, the State Department has said that it offered to have the remains of Zaruska returned to Ukraine. Her family, who had said in a statement that she was loving and kind, they said that no, she loved America, and that's where she will be buried. We're right here in the south end of Charlotte. Richard Devane will send it back to you.
The country where she sought refuge. All right, Richard, thanks so much for that. But before we let you go, Richard, we do want to ask you, I know you aren't right near a platform there, but you can see some sort of from your vantage point. Are you seeing more riders now? Because obviously with this tragedy, shining the light on what happened on that light rail. But again, with that 1 cent, that the transit, the proposal that's going to be on the ballot, this brings to light some concerns about safety on Charlotte's light rail.
Yeah, we've seen people on the trains as it's passed both directions, seen them going southbound, taking a couple of trains since we spoke going northbound. We have seen people on the trains. Now, the important thing to remember, me and photojournalist Ruben Wallace were just talking about years ago, 2010 exactly, a person was assaulted on the light rail. City leaders got together. They said, we're going to have more security. We're going to have officers on the platforms. Some will walk the trains. They will collect tickets. That was in 2010. They did step up. People said they felt a little safer. Years passed, budgets, cutbacks, things like that, and we're back to where we are now. So I can tell you, speaking for all of folks in Charlotte, whatever security measures take place, we just hope they stay in place so people feel more secure and safe.
For sure. All right, Richard, thanks so much for adding that perspective. And as Richard said, that is a concern, the safety measures. In fact, new measures for the light rail put into place recently by Charlotte's Mayor Vi Lyles can already be seen in action. We're talking about some changes as of this week. At each stop on Tuesday, security teams were on board checking and validating tickets. Some folks told us they feel more confident and comfortable riding public transportation with that security presence around. But they say more can be done.
Coming down this way, there were 3 CMPD officers on the train, fully garbed out in their uniform, which is great that there's 3, but they were all on one train. So I'm going to agree with her that, that having them all on one train is not going to do any good.
Some riders also told us they would like to see more safety education on the light rail with things like reminders to put away your phones and to stay alert while on board.
All right, at 8:05, we're going to check back in with Chris. How are things looking this Wednesday?
Fantastic. Back to you. It's pretty much how I feel for this forecast, though, is because it's going to be an amazing day, just like yesterday. It's a little bit warmer, so that's a big difference. A little bit cloudier to start off the day, but really the last few days have been pretty much the same. Our beach mountain camera, a little bit different. We see some of that valley fog, absolutely gorgeous. No deer in this shot, so that's another big change that we have. Our Dallas camera, ooh, look at that. A partly sunny sky, absolutely gorgeous. And then you got to love those golden rays that are streaking through. These are actually called crepuscular rays, just that's your weather term of the day. Always tough to say. You can also see some of those crepusculars right here through a Monroe camera as well, shining through the clouds. And this is how today starts, but you can see that blue sky up above. Soon we'll have that wall-to-wall sunshine a little bit later on in the afternoon, just as we saw yesterday. And the thickest clouds are actually the further east you go. That's why it was much warmer from over in Anson and over to Wadesboro compared to up in the mountains. So a 3-degree warm up. This time compared to yesterday in Charlotte, a 12-degree difference for you in Wadesboro and 6-degree warm up from just a day ago around Rockingham. So clouds are always a nice addition to the day. Our dew points starting to head the opposite direction. Yesterday, chef's kiss. We had those dew points in the 40s. Now we're back into the 50s. Once you get the 60s, you're starting to feel it. Notice dew points starting to creep on in. So we're going to be right around that 60-degree threshold. It doesn't feel terrible. It just means it's getting a little bit sticky. We don't have that uncomfortable air really as of yet. But hey, that could be coming before you know it. Our now and later forecast, we're 59 now. So that means next stop all aboard will be the 60s, as we already have over in Rockingham around Lancaster. And we're back into the 40s, barely 40 degrees for you around Boone. You've had your second morning in a row in the upper 30s. Let's get right to our Futurecast. I'm going to roll it. Whole lot of nothing. Just seeing a few green specks here and there. That's a whole lot of nothing over the next few days. And this brings us all the way to Saturday morning. And that's going to continue our dry trend. Nothing really to mention. Guess what? For the tropics, nothing really to mention. Where today, September 10th, our average high went down to 84. But the bigger deal with September 10th is this is actually the exact pinnacle of hurricane season. Whenever you talk what's the peak of hurricane season, it's September 10th. Last year, we had the exact same map, so it doesn't really mean anything because it was about a week after this time frame that all of a sudden you had about 3 tropical systems starting to develop, and shortly thereafter, you had Helene. So it really doesn't matter that you don't have an active peak of hurricane season. You quickly can make up for lost time, especially by the end of September heading into October. So our current temperatures, as I just mentioned, ranging all over the place across the 50s. Our 7-day forecast showing a nice little warm up, and that's what our extended forecast is showing by these for the next 6 to 10 and 8 to 14-day outlook. You can see things well above that normal. There's that 7-day forecast. Man, things are skipping all over on me. Here's your 7-day forecast. 80 degrees today, the top 88 on Monday. No rain, mix of cloud and sunshine a lot of those days. All in all, this is a great 7 days of September. Hopefully it's a great morning commute. Majestic, is it?
It's okay. I would say it's in the middle. Not picture perfect, but we still have a handful of active crashes out there for your morning commute. Here's a live camera look. You can see traffic is definitely picking up out there. A lot of people up and at 'em starting their day. You can see our drive times this morning, about 33 minutes if you're coming in from Belmont or Matthews. 66 out towards Salisbury. We have our typical delays out there as we're looking towards I-85, I-77, but we also have a whole lot of crashes this morning. Want to bring it on back to this area specifically. One lane is blocked because of a crash crash. It's on W.T. Harris Boulevard. Eastbound lanes being impacted near Graywood Drive. Keep this in mind. We are seeing those medium impacts. And just off to the west, another crash on Queens Road in Providence Road. That one has been ongoing for over the last half an hour. I-77, we have a whole lot of red. That means your morning commute is going to be slow moving, especially as you're getting closer to Charlotte. But if you live in Plaza Midwood, good morning to you. We have an active and new crash here. It's on the plaza at Plot Road. Seeing some orange popping up, meaning that traffic is moving rather slowly for you. And then this one finally to the north, a crash on Beatties Ford Road at Mount Holly Huntersville Road. Seeing the red popping up here, meaning those southbound lanes are being impacted. That's what I'm watching for now. We'll have another check all coming up here shortly. Back to you guys.
Majestic things coming up on WCNC Plus. Peace talks on the war in Gaza now in limbo. How the White House is responding to the latest attacks. The time is now 8:13. Now to some stories making headlines across the country. A federal court has ruled that embattled Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook can remain in her position for now. This as she fights President Trump's efforts to fire her. The president said he was firing Cook last month over mortgage fraud allegations. Tuesday's decision is likely to be appealed.
Right now, the U.S. Supreme Court is moving fast to consider whether President Trump's tariffs are legal. Justices set a hearing for the first week in November, an unusually quick turnaround for the High Court. They will hear arguments over whether Trump has the power to impose tariffs without congressional approval under a law reserved for times of emergency. The tariffs will remain in effect until justices issue a decision. And this morning, ceasefire talks between Hamas and Israel now in limbo after Israel's massive strike on Qatar. Now family members of the hostages fear for their loved ones will never be released.
This as President Trump defends his administration's knowledge about the attack. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest.
President Trump overnight voicing frustration with another escalation in the Middle East, an Israeli attack targeting Hamas leadership inside Qatar, that Qatar called cowardly and illegal.
I was very unhappy about it, very unhappy about every aspect, and we got to get the hostages back.
but I was very unhappy about the way that went down.
The president saying Israel did not warn him in advance. On social media, the president writing, quote, unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. Hamas leaders were in Qatar because the U.S. asked for a neutral site for Gaza peace negotiations that Qatar has been mediating for months. Those talks now in limbo, devastating Israeli hostage families. One mother saying she's trembling with fear for her son, still captive in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu authorized the strike after a shooting at a bus stop in Jerusalem Monday that killed 6 Israelis.
These are the same terrorists who planned, terrorist chiefs who planned, launched, and celebrated the horrific massacres of October 7th.
Israeli forces are once again stepping up military operations in Gaza, forcing beleaguered Gaza City residents to evacuate as President Trump and other world leaders push for a path to peace. The U.S. is pushing a new ceasefire proposal that Israel agreed to and Hamas was reviewing, though voicing skepticism about the terms. The White House says President Trump has now spoken to Israel's prime minister and assured Qatar's top leaders a similar strike will not happen again as we wait to see the fate of negotiations. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
A lightning strike longer than the distance from Charlotte to New York City. The science behind this jaw-dropping phenomenon next on WCNC+. The time is now 8:18. A new lightning world record has been confirmed in the United States, and it's shocking, literally.
Meteorologist Becca Birdsall has the electrifying science behind it in this week's Weather IQ.
Here's a record that will light up your brain. The longest lightning flash ever recorded on Earth has now been confirmed at 515 miles. This mega flash lit up the skies from eastern Texas all the way to Kansas City during an intense thunderstorm. To put that into perspective, that's roughly the distance from Charlotte to New York City, and it did it in a literal flash. So what exactly is a mega flash? Let's raise your weather IQ. A mega flash is a rare, massive lightning bolt that spans huge distances, way beyond what we see in typical thunderstorms. Instead of zapping down from a single cloud to the ground like we often picture, mega flashes are horizontal lightning discharges that travel sideways across the sky within or between clouds over enormous storm systems. These mega flashes form inside what we call mesoscale convective systems, massive clusters of thunderstorms that can stretch across multiple states. Inside these giants, the atmosphere can build up enough electrical charge over long distances to allow lightning to snake its way across the entire storm. This particular record flash happened in October 2017, but it wasn't officially recognized until scientists re-examined satellite data this year using GO-16, NOAA's cutting-edge weather satellite equipped with a geostationary lightning mapper. These mega flashes can impact planes, spark wildfires, and in rare cases, strike from storms hundreds of miles away. With your Weather IQ, I'm meteorologist Becca Birdsall.
And the coolest thing about Weather IQ, even the meteorologists get to raise their Weather IQ. I did not know about that, and so Becca was telling me all about it. So let's raise your lightning IQ for today to let you know when we have a chance for lightning. So here's our lightning intensity map. Nothing's moving. Yeah, because there's not a chance for thunderstorms at all, or even a chance for rain. Our severe weather risk outlook, 0. Not even a general chance for thunderstorms over the next 3 days. But I do want to mention something. There are technically 2 severe weather seasons here in the Carolinas. The secondary one usually rolls into fall, so it's not always this time of year, but it's usually September into October that we have a better chance for multiple temperature swings that sometimes can bring some big bad fronts. But for the near term, we have a whole lot of nothing because our rainfall chances don't even exist over the next 7 days. We're looking at a chance of maybe a sprinkle by tomorrow night heading through the overnight. The only chance for sprinkles is the man that backed off is Larry Sprinkle, because we are going to be perfectly dry here in the Charlotte area, and that's also up into the mountains as well. So enjoy a nice dry 7 days, and our rain chances keep on getting pushed back. It was actually, I showed you this map yesterday. It was looking like it was your Tuesday that had a better chance for rain. Now it's like a spotty chance on Wednesday, and then maybe the following Thursday and Friday could have a chance for an isolated storm. So don't really anticipate a lot of rain. It's a good time to do anything outside. I've been doing a lot of yard work, enjoying those nice drier days while we have them. Our low temperatures, well, we have the upper 50s by tomorrow. We were dropped down to the mid 50s this morning. We did that yesterday as well. Then we're gonna have a nice little uptick in the lower to the mid 60s. And we're also shifting from more of a fall-like feel to back to summer, because typically it should be around 84 degrees for this day in climatology, and we're going to be right there for your Thursday and Friday. Lower 80s with some additional cloud cover on Saturday, and then boom, look at that, 88 degrees on Monday, rocking the mid to the upper 80s through the rest of next week. So today is the last day that truly is feeling a little bit more fall-like before summer. It's back on. Let's get right over to traffic. Majestic, what do we need to know this morning?
Well, traffic is moving slowly, 45 minutes if you are driving from Gastonia to Charlotte. We are in the thick of things, 8:22, 33 minutes if you're coming in from Belmont this morning. You can see our live traffic maps right here. We have our typical delays, but unfortunately we also have a handful of accidents. This one, I just want to let you know it is clear. It's on W.T. Harris Boulevard. We've been talking about it for the last 20 minutes or so. Cleared, no longer a problem. This one here on Queens Road also cleared, so we're starting to see some progress. 77 does not look like the best place to be right now. We have a whole lot of red going up and down I-77. Then we are following this out in Plaza Midwood. If that is your neighborhood, good morning to you. Unfortunately, following this crash right here, it's on the plaza at Plot Road, so make sure you're giving them plenty of space as they are clearing that. This crash we've been talking about as well on Peachtree Road, that has been cleared. Again, making progress, but not perfect. This one is still ongoing and those delays are active. It's on Beatties Ford Road at Mount Holly Huntersville Road. That's what I'm looking at for now. We'll have another check on those roads coming up here shortly, but we're going to send things over to Larry Sprinkle.
Hi, this is Larry Sprinkle. Time for today's Tiny Town. It is Roadhus, North Carolina, just northeast of Eicher, North Carolina. Roadhus, right on the border of Caldwell and Burke counties, population 997 area, 1.26 square miles. Founded by John M. Rhodes and George B. Hiss, the year 1903. There's a plaque in town that says the first flag on the moon was from fabric woven at Roadhus Weaving Plant, right there in the middle of downtown Roadhus, North Carolina. That's the flag and that's the fabric, and it's on the moon, has been there since back in the late 1960s, 1969 to be exact. Roadhus, North Carolina, that's today's Tiny Town. I'm Larry Sprinkle.
All right, thank you, Larry. Well, check this out. Great news for a Cabarrus County K-9. The sheriff's office bomb sniffing K-9 Tito is now cancer-free. They say he had to undergo numerous chemotherapy treatments, but never missed a single day of work. Pretty impressive. Congrats to Tito as he continues to keep our community safe. And we're going to take a quick break, but keep it here on WCNC Plus. At 8:26, we're going to have a quick update on weather and traffic. You're going to see us stream those headlines right here as well. Then at 8:30, we'll be back with more breaking news here on WCNC Plus.
Let's see.
We're in the cut-in.
Oh, good morning, everybody. We are looking at temperatures that are in the lower to the mid 80s overall. We have the mid to the upper 80s for your Sunday and Monday. Look where these temperatures are going, though. So today is actually going to be one of the cooler days that we have going forward. And then after that, we're going to be mixing in a few clouds here and there. But there's nothing really to mention outside of that. It's going to be really just an up and down forecast overall. And check out where our lows are going to be headed. We have the upper 50s to around 60 degrees, and then we have the lower to the mid 60s, and then just really a lot of ups and downs, ups and downs. As far as our rain chance is concerned, absolute flat line, a whole lot of nothing, and we just have an isolated chance for rain. I'm not talking about until day 9 to 10 of the forecast. So enjoy that drier weather while we have it in the near term. A whole lot of nothing, which is something great. Let's get right over to Majestic to see how our morning commute is faring.
Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Time to get the day started. We're off to a pretty nice start to the morning. Area roadways, of course, are going to be busy. It is 8:27, 59 degrees, but this is what those roads are looking like. That's what we would anticipate. Our drive times are picking up, that's for sure, from Gastonia into Charlotte, about 50 minutes to get you there, and still lots of red up and down I-77. And again, we've been following this crash, but it was just cleared out towards Plaza Midwood. We'll have more on WCNC Plus.
Thanks for streaming live on WCNC Plus at 8:30. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Autumn Bracey, in for Ben Thompson. Charlotte Mayor Vi Lau celebrating another win in her Democratic primary for mayor, one of many high-profile contests that will ultimately decide who will be on the ballot come November.
WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards joins us live this morning to break down this and some of those key council races. Destiny.
Good morning. Yeah, those primary results are in, and while most incumbents were able to hold on to their seats, there were some that were not. We learned that Charlotte City Council will likely see some new faces as Tijuana Brown and Marjorie Molina both lost their bids for re-election. So we'll go ahead and start with the mayor's race. Incumbent Vi Lyles secured about 70% of the vote, defeating 4 Democratic challengers and positioning herself for a potential 5th term. This comes after days of heightened scrutiny and national criticism of her response to the Blue Line murder of Irina Zarutska. Lyles will face 2 opponents in November, Republican Terry Donovan and Libertarian Rob Yates. In the District 3 race, Joy Mayo came out on top with nearly 50% of the vote, unseating incumbent Tijuana Brown. Brown is facing federal charges tied to COVID relief loans, which cost her major endorsements from the Fraternal Order of Police and the Black Political Caucus, both of which backed Mayo. Mayo will now face Republican James Bowers in November. Most races on the ballot were Democratic, but District 6 featured the lone Republican primary. Krista Bakari won with 76% of the vote over Sari Chakra and now advances to November, where she'll face Democrat Kimberly Owens. Now, these are unofficial results. Election officials still have to certify everything in the coming days. And then for all of the latest primary results, you can always see our story on the WCNC Charlotte News app. We'll have all the latest updates as they come in.
Thank you very much, Destiny. And before we let you go, let's talk about voter turnout. We know that's always a hot topic. How were things?
Yeah, on the Mecklenburg County Board of Elections website, we're seeing 7.97% turnout, so nearly 8% turnout in this primary. We learned from Michael Dickerson, the director of the Board of Elections for Mecklenburg County, that historically in the past couple of local primary elections, we typically see between 6 and 8%. You want to try to hit that 10% mark, of course, because these are important races, but we did not hit that this time. Specifically, the numbers are 42,442 ballots out of 532,197. So that is out of all of the, registered voters in Mecklenburg County, but Charlotte is the largest city in Mecklenburg County. So you would expect if everyone did vote that it would exceed 10% easily, but not every voice that could have had a say in this election did. And as you can see, there were folks who were unseated. There were some people who got to keep their seats. So it's definitely an important election.
For sure. Wish that turnout could have been higher. All right, Destiny, thanks so much for that live report. Well, speaking of the candidates, Marjorie Molina, we've learned, is now calling for a recount in the District 5 race. She was up against J.D. Mazura Arias, who won by just 37 votes. She posted this morning on social media saying that she's requesting a recount to ensure that every single vote is honored. Molina adding that she is committed to a fair process and that she thanked the voters for standing with her every step of the way. Turning now to another race that we were tracking overnight, the Charlotte City Council at-large races, with 166 out of 169 precincts reporting. All 4 incumbent at-large members are moving on to the general election. Dimple Ajmera, Lawana Slack Mayfield, James Mitchell Jr., and Victoria Watlington will move on to November, where they will face Edwin Peacock. Now, only 4 candidates will be elected in total. Let's check back in with Chris now for an update on our forecast. That's a beautiful view from the Beach Mountain Camp.
I needed to show you something different because this is one of the best shots that I'm seeing across the Mrs. Sparky Carolina camera network from one of our resort cameras. And you can see off in the distance that we actually have some nice valley fog, and then just all in all, just a beautiful day up there, a little bit clearer sky. Dallas, we are dealing with a mix of cloud and sunshine, overall a partly sunny beginning to the day. And Monroe, same status. We're breaking up a lot of these clouds, and we're seeing a bunch of different levels here. There's a lot that you can unpack here as far as the different layers of the atmosphere, a lot of stratocumulus, some stratus clouds up here as well, and also some makings of some of these clouds trying to turn into some Kelvin Helmholtz clouds, which is one of the more rare clouds. Not quite there, though. Our Lalsville camera also showing cloudier sky and also a little bit darker. That oftentimes when I'm going to show you the future cast, it's going to show a couple of those green specks. Most likely that's just picking up on maybe a darker cloud because it's way too dry at the surface. Compared to 24 hours ago, well, we're about the same in the mountains and the foothills, but a 3-degree warm up from just a day ago in Charlotte. It's an 8-degree difference for you in Wadesboro and a 9-degree warm up for you in Chirac. That's because of that thicker cloud cover that I was just showing you. Our dew points are also on the rise. We were mainly in the 40s yesterday, feeling amazing. Still feeling decent for the time being, but notice what's lurking in from the east. We start to see that stickier air that's getting a little bit closer and closer, so you're going to start to feel it over the next few days. Certainly later on this evening, feels a little bit sticky, not too bad, but just letting you know that it is changing because it's been bone dry. Now we're starting to introduce a little extra moisture because check out where we were. Friday, Saturday, it felt really humid. Now we're still going to be in that sticky range, spiking up for your Thursday, for your Friday, and then yet again heading into next week, but still not too bad. Temperatures also getting a whole lot warmer at that point as well. We're anticipating a general warming trend seeing over the next 8 to 14 days, and our 7-day forecast ranging 80 degrees today all the way up to 88 for the warmest day, or even the hottest day of the week on Monday. Majestic, what do we need to know about your morning commute?
Good morning, everyone. Let's start with this live camera look as you're heading out the door. You can see cars are flowing. It is busy outside for our Wednesday morning commute, but you know what? We would anticipate that for this time of the day. We do have 2 active crashes that are currently ongoing. We're going to take you to this one first. It takes you out to Beatties Ford Road where this crash is not yet cleared. Not only are we seeing that, we're seeing the yellow, meaning that there are currently some medium impacts. Beatties Ford Road and Mount Holly Huntersville Road. So be mindful of that active and ongoing crash. This one seems a bit worse though. The left lane is currently blocked because of a crash. It's on I-85 southbound at exit 48. That's exit 30 as well. So right when they both intersect, make sure you are prepared for that. A lot of red, meaning that stop and go traffic is ongoing. I-77 from Forest Lake, York County, as you're heading into Mecklenburg County, things are slowing on down. That's what I'm watching for now. We'll have another update coming up here shortly.
All right, thank you for that, Majestic. Coming up, CMS families pushing back against immigration enforcement in schools. Well, this morning, major concerns over immigration enforcement in CMS. Community members pushing back at last night's CMS board meeting. Families say they are still living in fear and schools should not allow ICE agents on school grounds. WCNC Charlotte, Siobhan Riley explains.
I'm here to demand that CMS ends all collaboration with ICE.
During a packed school board meeting, members of the community calling on district leaders to change how it works with ICE in schools.
CMS needs to immediately implement mandatory trauma-informed care training for all teachers and staff. Students need clear, accessible resources and information about immigration and their rights, and you need to stop blocking those resources from getting to them.
How are students supposed to thrive and learn when they feel scared when they step into school?
School board members spent the meeting highlighting the district's successes after CMS outperformed the state in overall grade level proficiency. But community members say not enough attention is being paid on how the district is addressing safety concerns.
How sad it is that for the last couple hours, we praised the accomplishments of this school district, while the very same school district betrays its students and abandons them by allowing cooperation with ICE.
Board members have said previously the district's policies stem from federal and state requirements rather than local decisions. In the past, they have reassured the community proper safeguards remain in place.
8:41 now, a health alert about some meal delivery services after dozens of people got sick from one of those meals.
As the service grows in popularity, Jeremy Chen is looking into whether it's the best option.
Well, I am very, very busy.
Time is money, and for some, money is enough to get food quickly.
I didn't really want to think about the meals that I wanted to make and just something different.
That's why these people signed up for meal delivery services.
I just needed some extra help with getting some food on the table, you know, with my busy schedule and everything.
Marketing research firm Statista shows that millennials and Gen Z are the biggest customers when it comes to meal delivery services. The biggest reason why is convenience. They can eat healthier, have easy meal planning with something they could just leave in their fridge. But that convenience can come at a price at times. The CDC issuing an alert that 4 different entrees from the company Metabolic Meals caused a salmonella outbreak with 16 cases across 10 states, including 1 case in Connecticut. The affected entrees had a Best By date in the beginning of August. The company says it's working with investigators and has reached out to customers who purchased these meals in question. Most of them contain chicken, which registered dietitian Teresa Dotson says is susceptible to salmonella.
You have to make sure that it's cooked and it's cooked to the proper temperature.
Dotson understands the appeal of meal delivery services, but says grocery shopping for the same ingredients is generally cheaper. She says it comes down to choosing between time or money.
What is your time worth versus what is the cost of the meal?
She says making healthy meals doesn't have to be complicated or limited to just fresh fruits and vegetables.
You can buy frozen fruits and vegetables that cut down on your prep time.
For some, the meal delivery services became too expensive, and they decided to go back to grocery shopping, figuring it was now worth their time.
I mean, it was awesome to get everything that you needed, but I think it's just too much.
Jeremy Chen with that report. And again, a lot of people rely on those meal delivery services because it's so convenient, right? Everyone's busy. All right, coming up here on WCNC Plus, making an everyday impact. We're going to meet one of the honorees of this year's Dr. Maya Angelou Women Who Lead Luncheon. That's next. Well, there is an exciting event happening this weekend. Charlotte is going to host the annual UNCF Dr. Maya Angelou Women Who Lead Luncheon. I'm going to be the MC of the event. It honors trailblazing women in sports and entertainment. Joining us this morning, one of the honorees, Christy Furco, who is the head of financial inclusion at Wells Fargo. Christy, thanks so much for getting up early and being with us this morning. Tell us when you learned that you were going to be one of the honorees.
Well, I got the call that I'd be one of the honorees, and I was just blown away by it, incredibly humbled. Maya Angelou has always been one of my sheroes, and so to receive an award that is named after her was just incredibly humbling.
For sure. I can only imagine what that like. Now, this fundraiser, we should mention, this luncheon is actually a fundraiser for UNCF. There are 5 member schools here in North Carolina. As a leader in business, you know the importance of a college degree, that education that really can propel the trajectory of your career.
Yes, I do. I'm also the daughter of a college track coach, and so I grew up on the college campus. So education was such foundational in our household, and so that education was so incredibly important. But also being in Arizona and seeing the UNCF Scholarship Fund and that Lou Rawls Parade of Stars back in the day, it was such a celebration for our family of Black excellence and education, and the whole "a mind is a terrible thing to waste." Like that was so cemented for me as a child. So this is again incredibly humbling and a great honor to really focus on UNCF and help students realize the power of education.
For sure. And so Wells Fargo, your company, is the presenting sponsor of this hat lunch. And this is a great example, I think, of corporate social responsibility. Why is that so important?
Well, Wells Fargo has been a partner with UNCF now for decades. I think this is our 29th year that we're sponsoring this event. But Wells Fargo is all about giving back in the community. I mean, we call ourselves the Bank of Doing. We appreciate the importance of being in the local community, partnering with businesses and partners to really make things happen. And this year alone, we've invested over $5.4 million in the Charlotte community, and over the last 3 years, it's been almost $18 million. So our commitment is not only to Charlotte, it's in communities all over the country, making sure that we are contributing to those communities thriving.
And this luncheon really recognizes women who lead. You are definitely a woman who leads. I think American Banker called you the most powerful woman to watch last year. Tell me, for those who are watching this, and that's an industry that can be male-dominated, what's your message of inspiration to those who are watching this? Maybe little girls are watching.
Yeah, well, very much so. I think throughout my career, I've been many times the only woman in the room, the only Black woman in the room, certainly. And it's an incredible responsibility to represent that. I never am in those rooms just as myself. I'm in those rooms recognizing that I am representing other women who are there. But I think there's power in that. When you're the only one, when you speak, people will listen. And so it is this recognition of giving back to others, being that representation so little girls can actually see you and see that they can be you. And I think that's so incredibly important. And it's also really important that as I'm in those rooms, that I'm focused on how do I help other people get to those rooms as well. And so being yourself, leading with grace and not trying to be someone that you're not, that authenticity about who you are, that's so important no matter what room you're in or what industry you're in. And so I try to model that.
Wonderful. And certainly you do, obviously, as one of the honorees. So this is a hat luncheon, and this is going to be my first time, your first time as well. Do you have a hat or a fascinator picked out? Or are you ready for Saturday?
I do. So people have told me that Ellen Johnson is the hat lady, and so they put me in contact with her, and so I was able to get my hat for the event. And so looking forward just to seeing all the beautiful women and the hats and, just showcasing the beauty and the regalness that is Maya Angelou.
For sure. I have 2 options. We're going to see how it goes. A little nervous about it, but I think it will be great.
I'm nervous about it too. So.
Christy, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations to you being one of those honorees, and I'll see you on Saturday.
That's great. Looking forward to it.
All right, Chris, let's toss things over to you. We're going to have some great weather for Saturday.
Oh, I got you. No problem whatsoever, because we are looking at those temperatures that are going to be ranging really around that 80-degree point. This is going to be a perfect one to get outside and enjoy by your Saturday forecast. Dealing with some additional cloud cover all in all. A mostly sunny day today, and it should be a mixed cloud and sunshine for your Saturday. I like where we're going. 55 was our low this morning. The average low is right about 65, and the average high for this day in climatology, September 10th, is 84 degrees. I'm going to jump right to your 7-day forecast because I don't have a lot to show you, because everything is perfectly dry over the next 7 days. No rain chance of returning until the middle of next week. And the top, 88 degrees on Monday, 80 degrees for today. And this morning is also going to be much chillier, yesterday morning as well, compared to where we're going. Mainly the upper 50s to around 60 degrees over the next 7 days. A little bit warmer, though, in the mid-60s come next Tuesday. Now let's talk about the peak of hurricane season. Guess what it is? Today, September 10th, goes from June 1st to November 30th, but 87% of all of these tropical cyclones typically form from August 1st until November 30th. And it's technically about August 20th till October 10th that we have the absolute peak. So right in the middle of that, or pretty much these points right here on this upper chart. But right now, if you look at the National Hurricane Center's outlook over the next 7 days, it literally reads, tropical cyclone activity is not expected over the next 7 days. There's a whole lot of nothing for the near term, and that's something great for us, but it doesn't really mean too much. Now, number one, the reason why we haven't really had a lot develop is the atmosphere has been too stable, and what will often do that is this dust layer. So the Saharan dust, this is more primarily a concern which inhibits a lot of formation during the month of June to July. It doesn't usually linger this late into September, but that's reason number one why we're tempering expectations. Also, number two, we've had a lot of this areas of red. That's an unfavorable wind shear environment. So wind shear is the change of wind direction with height and wind speed with height. And that cuts into the formation of the storm. You kind of need this green area. And once you get to about Monday, you were looking at a much, much better threshold for a storm to develop, especially in this hot zone where a lot of rapid intensification forms. Meanwhile, you still have a lot of wind shear right around the Gulf, the Caribbean, and just off the Carolina coast. That's also preventing a lot of tropical formations. So things all will have to stack up and line up just right. We don't have that yet. So the next name is going to be Gabrielle, not happening over the next 7 days, but really by day 8 to 14 of the long-range forecast, we're looking out that I think quickly we could have Gabrielle, Umberto, and even Imelda all on the map at the same time. This happened last year, so just keep that in mind. Even though we are not seeing a lot during the peak of hurricane season, doesn't mean that we're done. We'll continue to keep you updated on WCNC Plus with weather and traffic as we get over to Majestic right now.
Good morning, everyone. We'll start with a live camera look. This time we are looking at I-85 here. Lots of cars out on those area roadways. It is 8:53 if you were just waking up and turning on the stream. You can see we have a lot of red that's still backing up our typical stop and go spots on I-77, but we do have a couple of active crashes. This one here, it's on Beatty's Ford Road at Mount Holly Huntersville Road. So not seeing a lot of impacts there, but just keep that in mind if you typically drive that way. Meanwhile, the left-hand shoulder is blocked because of a crash. It's on I-85 southbound lanes being impacted. That's specifically at exit 48 to exit 30. So make sure you're careful there. I-77 coming in from York County, Forest Lake out towards Pineville. 485 loop looks all right, but mainly it's just the I-77 slowdown. A lot of commuters all heading in the same direction, but not seeing any accidents. If you're going to be traveling out towards Matthews or Stallings, Lake Park, you can see where the red is, mainly the inner loop of 485 there out towards Hoods as well. Those are the main things I'm watching right now. We'll have another check on traffic coming up here shortly.
Well, we are going to take a quick break, but make sure you keep it right here on WCNC Plus. We're going to have another update of weather and traffic in just a few minutes. And at 9 o'clock, our own Jane Monreal is going to take over from our live Impact News studio. In fact, she's going to be talking with, I think, a few folks from Carowinds about some activities that they have coming up this fall. She'll also have the day's top headlines and breaking news as it happens in our area and across the nation. That's right here on WCNC Plus.
Well, good morning. 55 degrees was our morning low, 65 is the average, and 80 degrees is our high today, warmer than the last few days. Still missing the mark of 84, but we'll be there before you know it. The cloudiest part of the day is right now. We have clouds that eventually decrease for a mostly sunny to an eventual wall-to-wall sunshine scenario. To conclude your Wednesday, it's going to be a wonderful Wednesday to embrace the alliteration. 59 degrees. Well, the lows should be roughly around 65, as I just mentioned. We're only there one day, and that's on Tuesday morning. Outside of that, either side of 60 is where we're sitting. A 7-day forecast showing a dry forecast back to the upper 80s on Monday. Majestic?
All right, good morning, everyone. If you are heading out the door, this is I-85. Traffic is still not looking the best, but we don't have any major slowdowns for you this morning. Just everything we would typically expect at this time of the day. 8:57. We do have an active crash, though, north of Charlotte. It's right here bringing minimal impacts. It's on Beatties Ford Road at Mount Holly Huntersville Road. Another one here, the left-hand shoulder is blocked because of a crash. It's on I-85 south at exit 48. Take it easy for your Wednesday morning commute.